Hey everyone, welcome to my video on what I wish I knew when I first started my webtoon and tools that I would have taken advantage of right from the start. There are a lot of things that I wish I knew, but I've narrowed it down to what I think is the most important for anyone who wants to start their own comic. Let's just get right into it. So the first thing is creating character reference sheets for every one of your characters. Your character designs will change and improve as you continue, but having a page that you can reference will serve as a guide that you can always easily come back to. For creating the sheet, there are a bunch of templates you can find online, but generally what most people do is draw your character's full body from the front, back, and side, and then do 3 to 4 headshots with whatever expressions fit your character's personality. The second things I wish I knew about from the start is the bucket fill tool and the convert to lines and tones feature. The bucket fill tool is a godsend for quickly filling in all of your base colors. Depending on your art and what brush you use for your line art, you will have to play around with the close gap, area scaling, and tolerance features. I avoided this tool for so long because, well, first of all, I didn't know about it, but secondly, once I did know about it, I used the default settings and always had white spots everywhere, so just know if that happens, all you need to do is play around with the area scaling and tolerance. This feature alone significantly cut down my base coloring time from 1 hour on a panel to about 20 minutes. The convert to lines and tones feature is only available with the X version, and you don't necessarily need this feature, but if you do plan on using a lot of 3D objects in your backgrounds, it's very useful. Basically what this feature does is turn your 3D models into lines, so once you drag in a model you want to use for your background and position it, you just click Layer, Convert to Lines and Tones. I have 2 videos on my channel that go over this feature in depth, as well as different ways to create backgrounds, so I won't spend too much time talking about it here. The third thing I wish I knew was to save my most used assets as materials. When you create anything in Clip Studio, you can register it as a material, which will show up in the All Materials tab. This alone will save you so much space on your iPad or computer, and also your time, because you don't have to search in your album or folders for what you're looking for. Anything you use a lot, you should register as a material, which you can do in Edit, Register Material, Image. I created this living room from 3D objects and registered it as a material so I can easily drag and drop it whenever I need it. As you continue to draw your comic, what I did was whenever I drew my character in a new pose or a new facial expression, I'd save it as a material in a folder with their name. Number 4 is checking the Clip Studio Asset Store often. The Clip Studio Asset Store is a treasure trove of any material, brush, and background that you can think of. Do you want a tentacle brush for some reason? You can have a tentacle brush. Do you want it in a 3D object instead so you can move it around? You can have it as a 3D object. If you are ever looking for a reference pose and you can't find it on Pinterest or Google, you will definitely find it on the Asset Store. When you download something, it will show up in your downloaded materials folder. Pro tip: if you're using an iPad and downloading a lot of materials at once, put your Clip Studio app and Safari window side by side to avoid constantly having to switch back and forth between the apps. I have a folder for poses that has subfolders for specific poses because I am insane, but if you stay organized from the beginning, your future self will thank you. Also, if there's a material you want but it costs Clippy, you can upload your own materials and get Clippy points, which you can redeem for Clippy. And for materials that cost gold, you can just buy gold. This one kind of encompasses the last 4, but organization and preparation is key to not getting overwhelmed and quitting. Clip Studio makes it really easy to keep things organized, but it's also easy to get carried away and download hundreds of materials and end up not being able to find what you're looking for later. So here are some ways that I stay organized, and I recommend doing these before starting and during your comic. Organize and set up your workspace, quick access settings, command bar settings, and keyboard shortcuts. Categorize your brushes and materials. I keep my most used pens in one tab, then I have tabs for special effects, clothing patterns, and other things. Be prepared with your character sheets, at least a couple of chapters written / storyboarded, and a schedule you can stick to. You don't need to do all of this at the very beginning because a lot of the time your process will change, but it's good to keep them in mind. Lastly, this isn't a step, but it's very important, is to take care of yourself, as cliche as that sounds, but take breaks so your hands and eyes have a chance to rest. I have first-hand experience with having to put my webtoon on hold for months because of arm issues, because I literally never took a break. And you might think, oh, that won't ever happen to me, but that's exactly what I thought too. So now I just set a 40 to 50 minute timer and make myself get up and stretch. Last side note is that your comic won't be perfect, so don't delay it due to perfectionism or not being able to draw as well as you want, because that's what I did and it made me regret not starting sooner. When I finally just started, my art improved exponentially, and I've heard other webtoon artists say the same. So just start, and if you have an amazing story you don't want to start because you lack the drawing abilities for it, then I'd recommend just creating another shorter story first. This way you can get the feel for the process of creating a webtoon without the huge commitment of wanting to make it amazing. But you can also just go with your first story idea and redraw the first chapters later. Anyways, that's all I have for this video. I hope it was helpful in any way. Now exit out of this tab and open Clip Studio and start your reference sheets.